FPL is on the verge of launching, and every year the game introduces new rules and changes. Over the last year, I've kept in my head a number of changes I'd like to see that could make the game more balanced, more strategic, and importantly, more fun. So here are my suggestions for 5 changes I'd like to see in FPL. Starting with a small change for strikers. Is it just me, or did strikers feel fairly underwhelming this season? Part of that may simply be due to the current striker pool, where the Premier League setup last season didn't open up options for lots of different number 9s. Overall, playing 3 strikers was often suboptimal strategy. My suggestion is to increase the points awarded for forward goals to 5 or 6. The fact forwards receive fewer points for scoring than midfielders seems strange in itself, especially when midfielders have so many routes to points in assists, defcons, a clean sheet point, and more, over forwards as well. When strikers' primary contribution is in scoring goals and shooting, giving them the higher reward for goals seems the perfect change, and should make the position more appealing and balanced. Another idea could be introducing a small bonus for shots on target. I'm not necessarily advocating for that change, but it would be another way to reward talismanic forwards who constantly threaten goal, even on days when they don't score. Another small tweak I suggest relates to assists, specifically those awarded from set pieces. For the most part, the current assist system works well. There are the occasional strange assists from a player getting an assist with one defensive touch involved and whatnot, but at least the criteria is largely objective and consistent. But I for some reason have always felt odd that a player who wins the penalty is awarded an assist only if the penalty is converted. While you could argue that regular assists also depend on the teammate finishing the chance, winning a penalty feels like a different type of contribution. Instead, awarding 2 points for winning a penalty would recognise that action directly, regardless of who takes the spot kick. It would also solve another inconsistency in the current system. In the current rules, if a player wins a penalty and then takes it themselves, they're effectively unable to receive an assist because they're also the goal scorer. Under a penalty 1 point system, that player could both be rewarded for winning the penalty and for successfully converting it, recognising both actions independently. Similarly, I'm not convinced that simply being fouled for a direct free kick should count as an assist if the free kick is scored. An alternative could be to remove free kick assists entirely, so only the player scoring a free kick is rewarded, while the player who won the foul is not credited with an assist. But everyone likes points, so I guess it's a bit of luck and variance with who is fouled and gets the assist. I suspect this suggestion is one of the less likely changes to ever be implemented, but it's still something I think about and a discussion worth having. Next up, player price changes have always been a talking point. Many managers dislike having to monitor price changes every day, trying to predict who will rise or who will fall before the next deadline. I have a completely new suggestion to the player price system entirely, inspired from Formula 1 fantasy. In F1 fantasy, player prices are based on performances rather than transfer activity. Each player has a points target that determines whether they rise or fall in price, calculated using their rolling average over the previous 3 races. A strong performance can therefore make a player much more likely to increase in value, while poor performances have the opposite effect. A similar system could work well in FPL. Managers who identify an emerging differential before everyone else could be rewarded with price rises driven by on-pitch performances, rather than simply transfer volume. Imagine spotting differential Matoma only needing 3 points to rise, and he scores. So if a player has produced a huge haul, the threshold for another price rise would naturally become much lower, making continued good performances more rewarding. It would obviously require careful balancing to translate this into FPL, but I think the underlying concept has real merit and is worth exploring. I'll admit this one particularly is a completely unrealistic suggestion by me. England are more likely to win the 2030 World Cup than this being implemented, but still, I thought I'd suggest the idea. If a complete overhaul isn't realistic, a simpler improvement would be to have one scheduled price update between each game week deadline at a fixed time. This would remove the daily guesswork surrounding price changes, while still allowing player values to fluctuate throughout the season. Next up, the newest changes from last year, Defcons. Last year, the system of awarding points for defensive actions of clearances, blocks, tackles, and interceptions was introduced. This made centre-backs the pick. Every game week, it felt like there were a select few names for our backlines, the Defcon guys. I'm talking Senesi, Anderson, Lacroix, Virgil, Tarkowski. The only players engaged managers were consistently picking were Defcon achieving centre-backs, who could pick up those extra 2 points every game. Fullbacks were completely outshone, or outshined. Someone find the correct word I'm looking for. Granted, Nico O'Reilly was an attacking defender that people jumped on, along with picks like Munoz and Gabriel, who does, well, everything. But overall, the template decision when looking for a new defender was Defcon. So, what I'm saying is make the decision between picking a fullback and centre-back difficult. Some people might note that fullback output seems to have dropped off a cliff, but would you be surprised to hear that attacking fullbacks like Truffer got 6 assists last season, Luca Dean got 7, and Mateus Nunes, I kid you not, got 8 assists? I was really surprised reading these stats, as I didn't see any of these names in conversations anywhere last season. And you know why? Because over the season, Defcon centre-backs would tally up those points and outperform them. So I'll stop yapping. Defcon is too high scoring, what would I change? Simple. Option 1. Make fullbacks cheaper, more affordable, and give a reason for us to pick a fullback over the more expensive Defcon centre-back. Option 2. Increase the points for defender attacking returns. 4 points for an assist, 7 for a goal. Or option 3. Raise the Defcon floor for centre-backs to something like 15 or 20 defensive actions. Any of these options should give us greater variety in our picks, create more difficult decisions, and lead to more fun, dare I say. Also, side note, isn't it just more fun to watch a defender get a goal than a defender get Defcons? No one sits there counting Defcons enjoying it, right? I'm hoping everyone wants to go back to owning fullbacks anyway. My final suggestion isn't one specific rule change, but rather a review of the overall point system to ensure each position is equally viable and rewarding. I've seen suggestions such as goalkeepers earning 1 point for every 2 saves instead of 3, reducing points for penalty goals. This could be 4 or 5 if my forward goal suggestion was implemented, 5 points for clean sheets instead of 4. Hey, a point for a goal line clearance could be fun as well, even though that is pretty much random. At this point, these are up for interpretation, but it's worth suggesting. Finally, a few smaller ideas that might be worth mentioning. I've seen quite a bit of discussion of scouting bonus following World Cup fantasy, and honestly, I love this concept. Rewarding managers for finding hidden gems early would be great, although it may be difficult to balance in FPL due to dead teams and the length of the season, so it might need some thought. A new chip could be every player in your 11 whose team wins could receive an extra 2 points. It'd add another layer to fixture selection and reward planning ahead. Last, give goalkeepers 100 points for scoring a goal. Only joking. But come on, wouldn't that be great and massively controversial? There we go, there's my suggestions for some changes FPL could make going into the 26-27 season. Obviously, these are just ideas. Some of them are probably quite unrealistic, and I definitely haven't thought through the whole impact of every change. But if even one of these suggestions is implemented into FPL, I'd consider this video a success. Thanks so much for watching if you made it this far. I'm still very new to the FPL content space, but I'm excited to bring more unique and different ideas to the community. If you did enjoy, consider subscribing, liking, and sharing your own suggestions for possible changes in the comments. Alright, see you next time.